Welcome to the Journey to Iconic, the podcast about emotional self-leadership. This is where we explore the inner mechanics behind confidence, presence, emotional regulation, and self-trust. The skills that determine how you lead, communicate, and respond when life gets real. I'm Kirsten Barfoot, and this season isn't about self-help. It's about learning how to lead yourself so everything else in your life starts to align. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about why being constantly busy doesn't actually make you a better leader, and why it can quietly stop your team, your strategy, and even your own thinking from moving forward. I want you to walk away understanding where your growth really comes from and how to create the space for it to happen. Growth collapses not because leaders lack ideas, but because constant actions keeps them locked inside the known. So today I'd like to explore that and go deeper in that. So you know that feeling when your calendar is packed, your inbox is overflowing, and your brain is running 100 miles an hour? You're moving fast, checking off tasks, responding to emails, jumping from one meeting to a next, and it feels like progress, right? We have built a system around badges of honor on for the busiest person. And here's the subtle truth. Most leaders equate constant motion with effectiveness. We believe that being busy means we're in control and that more action equals greater results. But here's the spine you need to remember today. Growth doesn't collapse because you lack ideas. It collapses because constant actions keeps you locked inside the known. So when we are locked inside that moving from one thing to another, we are in that locked space where we are not open. We have not created enough space for us to even access additional information. So remember from last episode, we talked about creating that space. If we're challenged in a particular meeting or interaction, we need to actually notice where that moment can be created. And it's the same in essence as what we're discussing in this one, that we need to create space in our calendar for us to be open to additional information, creative solutions, curiosity. So think about it. When your system is full, when you're overloaded, your system defaults to survival. Your mind is tuned to certainty, to what is safe and what is familiar. Remember, we talked about the 50 bits of information that we can access versus the 11 million bits that is available. Big difference. So you start to solve problems the way you always have. You will avoid the unknown. And this is science. This is a scientific fact. So you will avoid the unknown because, again, it goes into that safety mechanism. We will do what is safe. We will do what is known. And the ironic part is that feels like competence. And that feels like being a good leader because we are safe. But in reality, you're shutting out the very thing that leads to breakthrough solutions. So what does this look like in practice? You're going to start adding things into your calendar instead of subtracting. Every new email, task, or project becomes another thing to cram into your already full schedule. You will fill every gap with activity. There's going to be no white space, no pause. Your day will be packed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you will equate movement with progress. If you're moving fast, you must be effective, right? And here's the mechanism behind it. Your system is under tension Survival orientation kicks in. You're programmed to stick with the known, the familiar. The risk feels dangerous, uncertainty will feel unsafe, and instead of creating, innovating, and exploring the unknown, you will default to what has always worked before. So what does that cost you as a leader? So it's going to cost access to the new ideas. That pool of possibility now is very limited. So you're making decisions from the past and not from what is possible. Let that sink in. We are operating from a past known experience rather than being able to take a leap into the unknown and being certain in the ability or the possibility of what can transpire. So the innovation will disappear, and then you will be busy, and your busyness will not move the needle. And when the mental congestion builds, this is when urgency replaces the clarity, and the risk aversion masquerades as responsibility. So let's use an example here. We have a senior leader I worked with, was juggling multiple recurring meetings and daily operational tasks. They were trying to find a better workflow for critical process, but every time they tried to think creatively, something else pulled them back. Emails, calendar, conflicts, meeting, urgent requests. You know, it's that constant needing to put out fires. So we experimented. They removed one recurring meeting from their week, just one. And they didn't replace it with another task. They simply created space in the calendar, white space. And here's what happened. A new solution started appearing. They noticed a problem no one else had seen. The team proposed an idea that had never surfaced before, and it all started with a tiny space in the schedule. A moment to pause and let their mind breathe. So reflect on that. If you're constantly in motion, you're not giving your brain the space to access the unknown. And you're solving only from what you know. And what you know is limited. What you know is limited. As leaders, we, instead of adding more things on our list to do, we get to start taking things off our list, delegate it, give it to a person to run with something, an idea. Because as a leader, our ability to be in the unknown, to notice opportunity, to notice when an innovative or creative idea has surfaced, and what to act upon and what not to act upon, can only come into the picture when we allow it space to do so. And so that is a critical part of their leadership, is not in cramming our calendars, but actually releasing the endless tasks. So survival does seek the certainty and not the growth, because it's unsafe. Action saturation will narrow your information bandwidth, and no space equals no contact with the unknown. And that's exactly where the creative and the high impact solutions live. So ask yourself, when was the last time you truly paused? Not a 5-minute break filled with email or scrolling, but a deliberate pause to think, to reflect, and to let ideas surface, because that's where the breakthroughs happen. That's where the solutions that weren't visible in the frenzy of action, that's when they appear. So here's what you can start doing today. Subtraction as your new leadership discipline. Remove one thing from your calendar. Make space. Don't rush to fill it. That gap is where the growth starts. You're giving space for curiosity. You're giving space for allowing those opportunities, those possibilities to evolve. Reorient your mindset. So instead of asking what else can I do, ask what can I remove for clarity to emerge. And allow your system to settle. Growth requires tolerance. Yes, tolerance for uncertainty. So growth requires tolerance for uncertainty. It is the uncertainty that generates the solutions that haven't been utilized yet. So let the ideas come and don't force them and don't judge them. Don't be so quick to judge them being right or wrong. When a solution presents itself, it will do better. It will be better and more innovative and more sustainable than anything that can come from busyness. And it's about allowing them to have space to form. And sometimes these can get deeper and deeper when we interact and engage with others at that same time too. So trust that clarity and insight need space to emerge. You can't force them you can't force them when you're in the middle of constant motion. So remember, growth collapses not because leaders lack ideas, but because constant action keeps them locked inside the known. And so that's the insight to carry with you today. Before you go, take a moment with this. Is there any area of your life where you're being asked to trust yourself more, even if it feels uncomfortable? That's often where self-leadership is actually built. I'm really glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Journey to Iconic podcast.